Here at KVUE, we've labeled Austin a boomtown. In recent times, the growth of the city has been almost unprecedented. It also has a domino effect on small communities outside of city limits. Communities growing so fast that in some cases, nature is left on the back burner. The city of Bee Cave is being confronted with this dilemma right now, facing a lawsuit from residents over the potential development of a new road. Here are the details. Bee Cave, a suburb of Austin, is growing fast. A 30-minute drive from the big city, with 71 being its major roadway in and out. Recent headlines of the city read, Bee Cave makes bees an honorary resident, and Bee Cave designated dark sky community. Surrounded by the rolling hill country, city manager Clint Garza says the city has tried to keep the environment at the forefront of their decision-making.
With their ordinances for light pollution, our water quality ordinances are some of the most strict and stringent and strict in the state. We do what we can to protect our wildlife, the flora and fauna, and everything else. And so I think that if you were to take a look at all of our activities, you would see that we're actually great stewards of the environment.
But a recent lawsuit would argue that not all residents agree.
Be a little jewel for preserving endangered species here in the center, in the heart of Bee Cave.
Mary Smith, a resident of Bee Cave, is talking about a place called the Brown property.
It was a private residence. The Brown family lived there until they sold it to the city in 2017.
Right.
Mary and her husband Walter Stewart have lived in Bee Cave for 20 years. Their land borders the Brown property.
And then we were all told, those of us in the neighborhood were told, well, the city really wants to turn it into a nature preserve and an open space, and perhaps get children in and do educational projects with them. And we thought, oh, that's great. And then they kind of stopped letting people come onto it. And then they kind of made clear that they were going to build this road.
Their neighborhood has formed a nonprofit called Citizens for the Preservation of the Brown Property. They are challenging the city of Bee Cave's decision to build an access road through the land. The preliminary plan is to take 10% of the 45-acre property and build a road that connects Great Divide Drive and Hamilton Pool Road. So you feel like just that sliver is going to have
profound effects. No question. It goes over the most ecologically sensitive part of the property, which is the karst band of rock, and it affects the drainage and everything like that. And the other thing is, a road doesn't, its influences don't end where the road ends.
According to residents, city environmental consultants said that the development of the road would pose a threat to native wildlife, increase risk for invasive species, and deplete the preservation value of the land.
And we have a real concern about the runoff from the road filtering down through the karst into the Edwards Aquifer and also into Little Barton Creek, even though, it may be, quote unquote, far away from the creek. Obviously that stuff travels through the karst, and that's a concern. That's a real concern.
Smith and Stewart want to preserve as much habitat as possible, as they have now spent 17 years restoring their adjacent property with native plants and host purple martin and chimney swift colonies. But outside of their oasis, the city is in desperate need of a traffic solution.
We have significant traffic problems, and we don't really get to control what happens on the state road system. In our conversations with the state, they encourage local roadways as well to supplement the state system.
In April, a tractor-trailer crash on 71 had Bee Cave traffic at a standstill for several hours, and there was no alternate route for movement.
There's nowhere else to build it to connect the road on east and west side with existing infrastructure or proposed infrastructure.
The resident lawsuit believes that there is an alternative, and that the city did not follow Chapter 26 of the Texas Park and Wildlife Code, which requires City Council to exhaust all options to preserve the environmental value of the protected land. While the lawsuit will play out over the next several months, a larger question is at hand. At what point are environmental preservation and the growth of a community forced to meet in the middle? In Bee Cave, Grace Thornton, KVUE News.